Welcome back. The other special focus this evening is about India's changing age demographic. Another report by the United Nations Population Fund highlights this demographic change. It's a known fact that the Indian population faces aging realities, and a UN Population Fund report seems to be bringing focus on that again. The report projects that the population of those above 80 will grow by over 200%. And the ones between 15 and 59 will decline. The focus of the report is to highlight caring for elders and the need for an institutional response to the changing age demographic. Priyanshi Sharma breaks down India's aging realities.
India is growing old, quite literally. India will have more elderly people than children by the year 2050, according to the India Aging Report by the United Nations Population Fund. As you can see in that graph, the line graph shows that the population above 60 years of age will surpass the population of children between the age of 0 to 14 years. The share of the 60-plus population in the country's total population is projected to double to 20.8% by the year 2050. That essentially means that 1 in every 5 Indians will be a senior citizen by 2050. India's elderly population will double to 347 million, or 20.8% of the total population, from 149 million in the year 2022. And that's not it. The older population is set to grow even further. By the end of this century, senior citizens are projected to make up 36% of our country's population. Now, this will happen as the elderly population is growing at a much faster rate than the overall population. From the year 2022 to 2050, the overall population is set to grow by 18%, while the 60-plus population is projected to grow by a whopping 134%. With this, the report says that undoubtedly the relatively young India today will turn into a rapidly aging society in the coming decades as the older population is growing, while the younger population in the 15 to 59 years age group is falling. And interestingly, a distinguishing feature of India is that the elderly population's share varies across states. For example, Kerala has the highest elderly population share of 16%, followed by Tamil Nadu at 14%, as these states have controlled their fertility rates. While on the other side, northern states such as Bihar and Uttar Pradesh have the lowest share of just about 8%, as their fertility rates are still high, meaning they still have a higher population of children. Now, what does this mean for India's future? The report calls this an unprecedented rise in the elderly population and says that this will impact health, economy, and the Indian society at large. Senior citizens are largely dependent and they have serious ailments, so specific social welfare and health schemes will be needed for them. The need for such schemes is highlighted by the fact that 18.7% of senior citizens in India don't have any income. Additionally, over 40% of India's elderly population falls in the poorest 25% slab, according to this report. Lastly, this forecast means that India will lose its demographic edge of a growing young and working population.
So decoding that age reality, we have with us Manu Gaur, population expert, as well as Poonam Mutreja, Executive Director of the Population Foundation of India. Ms. Poonam, first to you, what does this mean? Most of us have been growing up in the mindset of a population control. What does this new age reality mean to us, both in terms of mindsets and approach, and what systems do we keep ready and start bringing into place to ensure that we are ready for this new age reality?
So, population is something that's a very complicated, complex issue for us to understand. And even though we have great demographic data, we haven't realized really that India's population is stabilizing. We have a very large young population, and we talk about the demographic dividend, but the demographic dividend is not automatic. You have to invest in young people, in creating skills, education, their health. But simultaneously, we are going to be dealing with the reality where we already have 10% of our population is aging. And as your data showed, it's going to be 20% by 2046. To 20%, sorry. And what we really need to do is plan for the aged. Urbanization of old age, and it is going to be ruralization. And in rural areas, we don't have income opportunities for the elderly. There are nuclear homes in India increasingly, unlike what we had in the past where families took care of the elders. Now it is for the state to step in, have the right policies and programs where we take care of not only their health needs, but we take care of their psychological needs and the incomes. And gender is going to be a big issue, is what the report has pointed out, because women live longer and you're going to have large number of widows who are the poorest when they are aging. Women, especially since they don't have social security. Finally, let's remember that 80% of the population, actually close to 90% of the population, is in the informal sector. So they do not have social security from their jobs or private sector. So we need to make the resources available in time, in advance, for not only social security, but health. And the economy will definitely get impacted if we don't invest in our young people as well as the older people. We need technology, jobs need technology today, some levels, 95% of the jobs. So we need to reskill and upskill and upgrade the skills even of those who are older and who are going to be elderly. And lastly, I want to say that there is a huge need for a care economy. We don't have plans, we don't have creches, we don't have geriatric care in our medical system. You know, Kerala is a great example where they have 2,000 clinics across the state which deal with geriatric care as well as the emotional and other needs. And geriatric care is something that we must invest in for our elderly.
Okay, you made some important
health stuff.
You made some important points there, Manu Gaur. It's not just India that's contending with changing demographic age realities.
फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल हमें ये देखना होगा कि हम अपनी पॉपुलेशन किस तरह से डिवाइड करें, ये डेटा को एनालाइज किस तरह से। 1951 के सेंसस के हिसाब से हमारी 0 to 14 इयर्स की पॉपुलेशन 37.9% पॉपुलेशन जो हमारी डिपेंडेंट पॉपुलेशन में आती है, और 0 to 14% एंड अबव 60% इज आवर डिपेंडेंट पॉपुलेशन। And 15 to 64 years age group की population हमारी working age group population। तो 42% हमारी dependent population थी 1951। आज हमारी dependent population 2023 में घटकर 35% रह गई। और अगर हम देखेंगे यही क्योंकि हमारा fertility rate डिक्रीज हो रहा है, तो यही पॉपुलेशन 2050 में जाकर अगर हम टोटल डिपेंडेंट पॉपुलेशन को देखेंगे तो हमारी वर्किंग एज ग्रुप पॉपुलेशन फिर भी उससे बहुत ज्यादा रहेगी। तो ये प्रॉब्लम इंडिया को डिपेंडेंट पॉपुलेशन के सिनेरियो में फेस नहीं करनी पड़ेगी। मेन चीज है रिसोर्सेज अगर हम टोटल डिपेंडेंट पॉपुलेशन को देखें तो टोटल डिपेंडेंट पॉपुलेशन हमारी डिक्रीज हो रही है। हाँ, हमारी एजिंग पॉपुलेशन बढ़ रही है, लेकिन अगर हम हमेशा यंग नेशन चाहते हैं तो यंग नेशन चाहने के लिए हमें हमेशा अपनी पॉपुलेशन को इंक्रीज ही करते रहना पड़ेगा। जो कि हमारे देश की जो पॉपुलेशन है, हमारे देश के जो रिसोर्सेज हैं, हमारे देश के कितने टैक्स पेयर्स हैं, उनके अकॉर्डिंग हमारा 2.4% लैंड मास पर वर्ल्ड की 18% पॉपुलेशन रहती है, 4% वाटर रिजर्व। तो हम इतनी पॉपुलेशन के लिए लिमिटेड टैक्स पेयर्स के हिसाब से रिसोर्सेस कैसे प्रोवाइड कराएंगे, कैसे हेल्थ फैसिलिटीज प्रोवाइड कराएंगे, कैसे एजुकेशन प्रोवाइड करा पाएंगे। और यही रीजन है, इसी की वजह से टर्मिनोलॉजी हम हमेशा से सुनते आए हैं, ब्रेन ड्रेन। इंडिया से पॉपुलेशन जो पढ़े लिखे लोग हैं वो माइग्रेट हो रहे हैं। रीजन बेटर अपॉर्चुनिटीज के लिए, बेटर लाइफ के लिए। इस चीज के लिए गवर्नमेंट को एक प्रॉपर पॉपुलेशन पॉलिसी के बारे में सोचना.
Right. Important point that you make there. We need to be population ready, both in terms of mindset, in terms of systems, in terms of what your age demographic is going to be, not today, but 20 years down the line. Those would be important issues that we'll discuss as we go along. But that's all we have time for on this show. The news continues here on NDTV. Thanks for watching.